I could really get used to this winning thing, Gunners. It's another one for us, albeit against a poor Newcastle side, but we're going to take a little look at it. Thanks for tuning in. This is Blog on You Gunners. So that first half, I think, was a difficult one for us and filled with a sense of foreboding in terms of how things were panning out. Newcastle set their stall out in a way that they did, in a similar way to what they did in the FA Cup clash just a week or so earlier. They didn't have much intention of causing us any problems going forward. What they were getting was counter-attacking stuff, and they were also trying to force corners and free kicks and whatnot, but for the most part they had no real intention of being adventurous in any way, shape or form, and that makes for a frustrating affair. I think they took a leaf out of not only their own book in the FA Cup, but of Crystal Palace's book. They sat deep, they were very compact, they were unambitious, they were, I think in fairness to them, they were very disciplined. I think organisation was very high for them. They kept it tight, they showed their men onto their weaker foot. They were good. You can't argue with that, even if it is frustrating that teams come here and don't have much intention of doing much other than waiting for a mistake or one or two moments in the game where they can break away and get something. So that first half was typified by that sort of pattern of play, really. We dominated possession and really had to keep plugging away at them in order to create some spaces, move them about and produce something. And there have been games this season where we simply haven't been able to do that for one of many reasons. Chief among those is the lack of creativity and forward momentum and pace of play. But I think that was in a lot of ways addressed in this current Arsenal iteration, thanks largely to the addition of Emile Smith-Rowe, and Thomas Partey helped in that score as well, interacting with players such as Oba and Bukayo Saka, and Alex Lacazette restored to the centre-forward slot, in which he is undoubtedly now, I think, the best option for us and where it's most effective. And I think perhaps the Aubameyang on the left argument has also been put to bed. As long as Lacazette's in the team, that's where Oba's best, that's where Laka's best, So I think Oba through the middle for the moment, or for the foreseeable, is dead and buried. But in terms of our first half, not too much to get excited about. There were a few opportunities of note that were spurned, that were a cause for concern, particularly for Aubameyang. He would have hoped, I think, to have taken at least one of those chances and caused the keeper some problems with the other one. As it happens, in the end, he was way off the mark on both scores, and that was worrying from an Arsenal fan perspective. As I said, tweeting during the match, that when he's not getting the opportunities and not scoring, you can compartmentalise it because he's not getting the service, but in these last few games he has been getting the service. So in that first half, when he was missing the chances he was getting, it was concerning. Not only for him, but for the pattern of play of the team and the eventual result. Onto the second half, and you have to credit, I think, Mikel Arteta and the team's attitude and renewed focus, because they were good after the break. It's not to say they were bad at any point in the first half, but I think they lacked a little something, maybe a final ball, maybe some ruthlessness. But that certainly wasn't lacking in the second half. They were very good. Very good. The movement was brilliant. The ruthlessness was there, which is what we're going to need. And the first goal was case in point. Lacazette picks it up in a surprisingly deep position, lays it off first time to Partey. One shimmy, one move away from his man, a ball over the top, and Aubameyang's in, does the rest. Romps in on goal, runs a good 30-odd yards. He's shown onto his left. Fair play to the defender. It worked for him several times in the first half, keeping Oba on his left. This time it didn't. He, instead of shifting it onto his right and hitting, he kept it on his left and finished. It was deadly. It was absolutely deadly. It was a great shot. And the keeper, not much chance. And this is no mug of a keeper. He actually seemed pretty handy, in fairness to him. He made a couple of good saves in the build-up to the breakthrough, particularly from Lacazette. A ball came through several bodies and he palmed it away, got down low. Brilliant save. But there was little he could do about that, and it was a great first goal. And we just took over from there. I think that knocked the stuffing out of Newcastle. I'm not sure they had a plan B. In truth, I'm not sure they had much of a plan A of substance other than don't lose. So after that, they more or less fell to pieces and were a little bit confused in what they were doing. And there was a certain inevitability maybe about the second and third. I know nothing's ever certain when you're an Arsenal fan, and 1 goal or 2 goals is never enough in terms of a lead. So it was good to see those goals come in quick succession. Newcastle were looking ragged as hell for the second one. It was a simple pass out on the left, just over the halfway line to Smith Rowe, and he just wanders in 30 odd yards, jinks past his man, crosses it, Saka middle of the box, 2-0, easy money, and no more than we deserved really, and no more than Newcastle deserved, as you know, tight and compact and watchful as they were in that first half. They offered nothing, and there's only so long you can get away with a tactic in which you really don't look to do anything other than survive. Eventually, we're going to get you. I know a lot of teams have been able to stick it for 90 minutes this season, but increasingly so, that's not the case, and particularly with the raising quality that Partey brings and the 2 Gabriels will eventually bring and Saka brings. So 2-0, easy for us, and it was on to the third. Cedric brought into the team at right back. Not a lot of fuss there. He did a solid job deputising for Hector, if indeed he is the deputy for Hector now. I don't know whether he's usurped Hector in Mikel's thinking, but it was a good move, good interchange with him and Saka, good persistence after the move initially went wrong. Get to the byline, and then it was just on a plate for Oba to get his second, and boy did he need that. He almost doubled his bloody tally overnight in a single game. So 3-0, game's dead and buried. We can rest some legs. What more do you want? Perfect. In terms of turning points for this one, I think you have to say half-time, really. I don't say that we were bad in the first half, but we were missing a little something. Perhaps it was speed of movement or thought, but it was very much in evidence in the second half. They didn't hang about. They shifted the ball quickly, 1 touch, 2 touch, move it, and they were able to exploit the spaces that weren't necessarily there in the first half. So turning point was the break for me. We were much better afterwards. That's even before we got the goal. We created a couple of chances that it took some pretty useful saves to prevent the opener. So whatever was said at half-time, whatever change of attitude there was, it very much worked, and hopefully it is a sign of things to come, if not an approach to matches to come. It was great, and the undoubted turning point. Standout performers, there are a lot for Arsenal. There was no one person who was head and shoulders above everyone else. Aubameyang obviously takes a lot of the plaudits for 2 goals and looking like the old Oba, the Oba of last year. That's great to see him on the score sheet. That's 3 in the last 2 for him, which is some turnaround given where he was. I don't think he's out of the woods yet. I think a few more goals will do wonders for his confidence and see him restored. But he did fantastic. But then again, so did Bukayo Saka, who continues to be fantastic. So did Emil Smith Rowe, who continues to be fantastic and continues to be the guy that we were missing. And if he continues to do that, I don't know whether we can afford to drop him back to the bench again. Really, I know we need support in a creative sense in the midfield, but at the moment he really is carrying the burden, and I wonder whether he is able to continue doing that. I had my doubts. If we can give him the right rest in the right games, perhaps he can carry us for the end of this season, and then, you know, at 21 years old, the questions go away really. But he'll undoubtedly need support, whether it be senior support or backup from someone who's on his level. We'll wait and see, but for now, fantastic from him. And also a shout out to Thomas Partey, who grew into this one and was instrumental in the first goal. What more can you say? The man is clearly a level above anyone else on the pitch, and it's just unbelievable that we were able to sign him. Really, he's just pure class, and he'll continue to be an influence every game he plays. Let's hope we can keep him fit, and if he's not in your fantasy football team, I would sub out whoever you've got in there and get him in, because I think he's going to rack up some points. In terms of context for our season, I touched on it at length in the blog post this morning. It's a fitting end to a favourable run for us. We faced teams who are below us in the table and who are struggling, and we took them to pieces for the most part. The only disappointment is the Palace game, when we weren't able to muster a bit more. But I mean, it'd be churlish to be disappointed with 13 out of 15 points. We did the business. Things won't get any easier from here. Unfortunately, we've got to run 5 games now against teams at our level and above us, and that's going to be a big test for us, a big run, and determine, I think, for the large part, where we're going to end up this season. Whether it's going to be top half, whether it's going to be top 8, 6, or maybe even higher, I don't know. Teams above us are getting consistent now, starting to pull away perhaps, and it's a question of whether we go with them or whether we continue along the road of ups and downs. I suspect it will rather be the latter, in the absence of another couple of players who can carry us further. But in the context of the season, it was a great end to an important run. We've given ourselves a good chance. Let's see what we can do from here. And I think that will do it for this week, Gunners. That was easily done, that one. There was a few bones to pick over, but I mean, how critical can you be of such a good performance? Lots more, hopefully, where that came from. It's the FA Cup next weekend. We'll see you in the build-up.